Hello everybody, and what we're going to talk about today is sage and the importance of using it, and what are some of the things that may be roaming around your domain, your home, cars, when you go to the store, all this other type of stuff that may be around you, and the different type of things that you may be able to do, the different things that you can spot. And as you all know, I love to take notes. You know, that's kind of like my thing. And I guess we'll dive right in. One of the first things that I did right was when you're calling upon your spiritual warriors, because I always tell you guys about your team. You didn't come here alone. You came here with your team, your spiritual team, meaning your ancestors, those that love you and guide you, and even past loved ones, those that are for you. But when you're under attack, you know, from different type of negative entities, demons, or however it goes, you know, whatever terminology you want to use, you have to constantly call upon them, because some of them have other duties. Some of them have other things that they need to do. So if you don't call upon them, they may not be in that space at that time. You have to call upon them. And some of your ancestors are not your protectors. You know, they may be your teachers, your guides, and things like that. So when you call on your spiritual warriors, and use that term, your spiritual warriors, when you feel or you sense, I told you guys that your heart is your compass, your heart and your gut, that feeling when you feel a little uneasy. And sometimes it's not just uneasy. Sometimes they cloak themselves where it's not seen, it's not felt. You know, some of them are so powerful that they make it where they dial down the fear factor, because they don't feel like feeding, and that's what they do. They feed off your fear. So once they dial down that fear factor, they can still lurk in the area and watch you, you know, just watch your interaction. And when they're getting hungry or they're getting agitated by your moves and by you not participating in some of these negative behaviors that you was doing before, they'll amp it up and do little things that can kind of heighten your fear, where they can feed off of you. And that is where sage comes in. It kind of cleanses the area and banishes different type of things. So I'm going to move on to number 2. Remember, everything in your universe is about you. Don't ignore any signs. Don't say, well, I saw this dead bird and it doesn't mean anything to me. Or my chimes is going off like crazy and it doesn't mean anything to me. I keep seeing this number and it doesn't mean anything to me. No, it means everything about you. Everything is about you. Everything is about you. You know, it's a puzzle. You're in a space where you have to gather your puzzle pieces. You know, no one can do it for you. No one can play this game for you. You know, you set out, you chose to come in this field at this time to play this game. So gather your pieces. Don't look around this space and say, no, that's not for me. That's not about me. Everything is about you. You know, you are the center. You are that vital piece. You are that light that if they take it out, it wouldn't be the same. Okay, we're going to move on to the next one, which is, if you have an inclination of different deities, gods, and goddesses you work with, call on them and position them in the areas you want them to stay. Like, say, for instance, if your house or home or different areas is under attack, certain deities and gods that you work with, you position them. Make it clear within your mind of where you want them to go, whether it's your warriors and them standing by a door or standing by a window or standing on the perimeter of your outside area. And what you guys can do as well, one of those deities, depending on what their powers are, or gods or goddesses, depending on what their powers are, have them walk with you around that area, and they can place borders and things up. Now, note, the borders won't last as long. You may have to do it periodically depending on the situation. But definitely position those gods and goddesses that you work with in certain areas of your home or your spaces or wherever you are. Remember to do that. Now, the gods and goddesses and deities that you work with, they can stay kind of sometimes in place. But your spiritual warriors, like the army that you have behind you, sometimes they have other things that they're doing. Sometimes they're preparing for this war, you know. So you have to constantly call them forth, call them out, you know, let them know that you're being under attack at that time, you know. And the next one is, your imagination is like gold. It is like currency. It's nothing more valuable than your imagination when it comes to the invisible realm. You can create things unknowingly. Just because you don't see your manifestations or your creation does not mean that they're not there. And that's the same thing goes with your ancestors and your spiritual team. That's the same thing that goes with these gods and goddesses. That doesn't mean that they don't exist because you do not see them. They are there. They are watching you. You know, watching how you respond, watching how you move and roam. And that's how the negative entities, negative beings, sometimes negative gods, however it goes, you know. I always tell you guys, it's not just good and bad. And some of the mythology that you heard about, you need to read a little deeper into it. Follow your intuition of what you know the truth is. Don't let somebody else guide you and tell you, oh, this is what happened, or this is what happened, and this is what this is. You know, you have the true knowing within yourself. So listen to yourself and trust yourself. You don't have to trust everybody else. You don't even have to trust me. Trust you. You came into this thing with knowledge. You just have to tap into it. Start trusting you. And the other thing is sage. This is how it looks. And you just will burn the end of it. I found that this is the organic sage that I have. Sometimes you have to constantly burn it. So it might be a good idea to have like one of those the taller lighters when you walk through it, as you've seen in the beginning of this video. That might make it easier for you guys to have. Okay. Let me see. Sage assists with dissipating negative thought forms. Okay, let's talk about that. Sometimes, like I tell you guys in other videos, thought forms are everywhere. And it's a certain frequency that they match with. If you're, like, say, for instance, if your space, like, say, for instance, you had a bad day and all that anger and everything else, and you have thoughts associated with that anger, they're floating. They're there. That fear feeds those thought forms, and they're able to stay and sustain themselves in that space until you decide that you're no longer afraid. But in order to speed up the process, what you do is you use sage. You use sage all around the areas. And one of the things, let me see. Okay. Yeah, you use sage all around the areas, and I'm going to tell you the areas that you use and why you should use them in those spaces. I said sage assists with dissipating negative thought forms that grow and activate in different spaces. It may take some time to clear their power, and it may seem like the sage isn't working, but it is. Give it time. Give it time, because it's almost like it's like a powerful creature that you're fighting when you use sage. Those thought forms is no joke. They lie around, you know, and they're looking, they're searching. It's almost like they don't want to die out either, you know, and they're hungry. So they need to feed off of what gave birth to them, which is fear. And they're looking for that. So when you decide to raise your vibration and you no longer want to live in that fear, it's like they're searching and they don't want to go, and they know that they was able to feed in this space, in that space. They was able to feed in that place, so therefore they're not easily to go. But sage, what sage does is boost them out, pushes them out. It no longer allows them to stay in that space. But what they're doing is like a clinging, like I don't want to go, I don't want to go, I don't want to go. But the more that you use this and the more time that you give it, the more that you take their power away. They're not so powerful. And another thing that you guys should do when you do sage your areas, cut off all fans. Don't cut on the fans. You may be able to ventilate, open the windows, open the doors, but do not cut on the fans, because it makes it dissipate, and we don't want it to dissipate. We want it to consume all those negative things that lie in those areas. That's what we want. That is our intent. So the next thing that we're going to go off of is some of your negative actions as a child, teen, young adult may have not been fully you. You would be so surprised with how easy it is to be, I guess, attacked. They move in your body as like smooth as air. And before you know it, you think that it is you doing those things when in fact it is not. you know. And it's so many beings, like spiritual beings, that roam what we call our bodies. You probably had done some crazy stuff as a child and you thought that it was you when it was not. It literally is like you was body snatched. They jumped in and out of your body. And sometimes you can kind of sense it. Let's see. And as you decide that that's no longer the space that you want to be, it kind of like you're putting a border within yourself. But no, some of the ones that are so strong and so attached to you, it's harder for them to let go, you know. And you may tend to think that they have dissipated, but they lurk in the shadows. They lurk in the shadows, and that the fear factor may be down, but I told you the fear factor is down because they watch you. They want to watch you. And the more you raise your frequency and your consciousness, the more that they do not like it. And you don't want anybody watching you. You don't want no freaking stalkers. So therefore you use sage to kind of dissipate and cleanse those areas, and use ward up all the, you know, the spaces that you live or where you be. Okay. Another thing is negative entities hide in corners, because the corners are where your portals are. They are able to easily access those areas through those corners, through those spaces, through that configuration, you know, through that square, or depending on how the area is set up. You know, everything is made of geometric patterns. You know, it's something to that. And they know how to work and see those areas. And that's why they hide in those areas, because it's easier for them to have access to you. Okay, I'm going, and yes, I'm going. But I want you guys to really feel this and get it. Where is it? Some beings can choose how they make you feel. Like I told you before. Sometimes when they don't so much want to feed, they'll amp down the fear factor. You know, they'll dial it down a little bit where you feel safe and content. But then out of nowhere, you start having these negative thoughts. You start thinking this and you start thinking that. And when it gets to that point, you think that is just you, but no, it's someone literally there that you can't see in the invisible world, speaking to you on the same frequency as you. So be mindful of your thoughts, you know, not just your actions, but your thoughts. And what I tell you guys, and I have always taught y'all, writing is everything. Writing to me is as well is gold. When you write things out, they can no longer hold power up to you because you can see them. It's almost like you see your monster. And once you can see your monster, you can fight your monster. You can slay your dragon. You can grab the head, you know. Nothing. You have to see it. And in order to see it, you have to write it down and be able to spot it. And then therefore you have a game plan of ways that you can defeat it. Okay, where am I? I said some beings can choose how they make you feel. Negative beings may amplify your fear. Yep, I said that. So they can feed. So, okay, some negative beings can cloak their intentions. Oh, yeah. Some negative beings can cloak their intentions. They can appear like they're the good guy or they're the good girl, you know, one of your angels, one of your spiritual team members, you know, the higher ranking ones. They can kind of deceive you in that manner, and we don't want to be deceived by anyone. So you have to make sure that you're vigilant and protected. It doesn't take anything to take some sage or put some wards up, read a little bit more about how to protect yourself. And one more thing that's coming to me: do not live in fear. Do not go around watching those videos where they say, "Ooh, you better watch out for this," or "Ooh, you better watch out for that." No, we don't want to live in that anymore. We don't want to be fearful. We want to be vigilant. That is what you are. You want to have straight will and intent. You don't want to move off of emotion, because when you're moving off of emotion, it blocks you. It blocks you. And that's one of the things. When fear creeps in, you can't think straight. You're not thinking, "Oh, okay, well, let me go grab my sage. Let me go put up my wards. Let me go call this deity or call this god or call this goddess." No, you're not thinking like that. Your mind is straight stuck in that fear. You don't want to be in that state. And some of these people that make videos, they feed off of that too. They want to like amp up your fear instead of saying all you need to do is be vigilant and focus on your intent and your will. We don't carry fear. We don't want fear. We don't respect fear, you know? So yeah, I said so they can cloak their intentions. And take the fear away to stalk. Yeah, they take the fear away to stalk and watch you in order to go undetected. Okay, this is the last one. Sometimes some areas you can tell when a negative entity is around you. Negative entity, negative gods, whatever, you know, just negative stuff. Out of nowhere, you'll get a lot of like insects in your home. Or no matter what you do, it's like you cannot destroy them. You cannot get rid of them. They're always like around. They use the things within this space that appears to be normal so everything can go undetected. But what they're trying to do is amp up your fear. So they will take those things that you are fearful of and put them in front of you so they can feed off you in that invisible space. Fear. That is your key. Get rid of that. What have I always taught you guys? You are a part of all this dark matter. And if there's any area in your home or any area that you are, turn off all those lights and stand there and say, I am a part of all this dark matter. Nothing scares me. I am in fear of nothing. No being can harm me. You know, it's almost like you need to put on your armor as well. So when you call upon your warriors, you get ready too. You get ready to battle, you know, because you ain't no joke. Y'all are beautiful creatures, all of you, you know. Show them your true face. Show them your warrior face. So, I was going in this one. I know I was. So I guess that's it. That's all we're going to talk about today for Sage, you know. Stay vigilant. Don't live in fear. Don't stay in fear, but just stay on alert. Whereas you're watching, you always pay attention to your surroundings, your space, you know. You are a part of all this dark matter, so you shall feel nothing. And there is nothing you should fear, but you should always be aware.